In today's episode of the Motorhome Map podcast,
we head to Milan for an exclusive tour of Fiamma HQ.
Mamma mia! In the news, the EU have reached a provisional agreement on driving licence rules.
And we answer your questions on a fuse that keeps blowing, dash cams and MOT test classes.
Welcome to the Motorhome Map podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
Industry insights and expert advice for the world of motorhomes, caravans and camper vans. And it's brought to you by thatleisureshop.com.
And sponsored by Ripe.
Remember to follow on your favourite podcast app and to subscribe on YouTube. Right, straight into the news then, Matt. First of all, licence changes.
Yeah, indeed. This is exciting. So you'll recall, if you've listened to the podcast in the past, we exposed the fact that the European driving licence was under review. So this is not the UK driving licence because we're no longer part of the EU. This is the European version of it, which we used to be part of. So ours is the third directive. The European Parliament were creating the fourth directive. And there were a number of changes, including the big one that would affect motorhome drivers, which is upplating our ability to drive on a B licence to 4.25 tonnes from 3.5 tonnes. So you wouldn't need a C1 licence to drive over 3.5 tonnes. If on your B licence, you could drive up to a 4.25 tonnes.
Can I
Makes
just
sense?
Push the brake on this a little bit? Just for people who are new to us. Lots of ABCs and all the rest of it. Can you just do a brief explanatory as to what you're talking about?
For those who don't know, so since January the 1st, 1997, if you passed your car driving test, you could only drive up to 3.5 tonnes. Now, you and I, Keith, we took our test long before that, so we had what was known as grandfather rights, and we could drive up to 7.5 tonnes, which seems ridiculous. You can get out of Fiat 500, take the L plates off, and go and drive a big green parcel machine lorry, which seems ludicrous. And the EU Parliament acknowledged that, and so capped our ability to drive at 3.5 tonnes. And of course, motorhomes are getting heavier and heavier. So people's ability to drive with a decent payload has been restricted by the fact they didn't have this test called a C1, enabling them to drive over 3.5 tonnes up to 7.5 tonnes.
And they're getting heavier and heavier, and they're making provision for batteries as well for when EV motorhoming becomes a thing.
So recently, the first change was that if a vehicle is all electric, you can drive on a B licence up to 4.25 tonnes. That's already ratified in law in the UK as well as the EU. So that's already the case. So when electric motorhomes come, if they're all electric, they could be 4.25 tonnes. But the argument's been, well, if I can drive an electric van at 4.25 tonnes, why can't I drive a diesel or petrol van of 4.25 tonnes? The EU Parliament have reviewed this, and it's part of a much bigger picture around driving safety and keeping people alive on the roads. And part of this fourth directive is giving people the ability to drive 4.25 tonnes on a B licence.
Okay, I understand all that. Fair enough. We're not part of the EU anymore, and this directly affects our loyal listeners in places like Poland and Ireland. People listen all around the world, but those are the first two that popped into my head in the EU. So this has changed in the EU. Okay, I understand that, but hasn't changed here. So it doesn't really matter, does it?
So it's being changed at the moment. So it's likely to be adopted in the next few weeks in certain states, and the EU is being given 2 years to adopt the fourth directive. It's then a case of, the big question is, when and if the UK government adopts the fourth directive, which means we here in the UK with our UK driving licences could benefit from these changes. There are other changes around medicals, and every time you reapply for your licence you have to have a medical. There's a whole host of changes. The likelihood is, I predict, is that we will adopt it because the logic for doing it is about driver safety and road safety, and why would the UK not do that on that landscape? So I think we will adopt it, and the big question now is when. So I think at the moment there's a lot of turbulence in the world. Politicians are very busy talking about lots of other things, so this is not going to get on our radar in this country until later in the year. But undoubtedly, it's a government support winning vote, and to enable us to drive heavier vehicles. And what's interesting in this EU regulation that's been discussed is motor caravans, which is the term for motorhomes, are specifically mentioned. So the ability to drive a heavier motor caravan. So I'm waiting to see, is this a case of you can drive 4.25 tonnes any type of vehicle, or or is it just something that has the classification of motor caravan? We'll see.
Right, so it's coming in the EU in the next 2 years, and it could well be coming to a shore near you. And the government, after all of Trump's tariffs, do seem to be trying to make things a lot easier for us over here in terms of transporting goods and services. So Europe's only 26 miles away. It makes sense that we do adopt it in the future.
Yeah, absolutely it does. So as I say, it's just a question of when. We're watching here really closely how this rolls out. It's a matter of weeks, I say, before it will start rolling out in Europe, and then we'll see what Keir Starmer does.
It's the Motorhome Matt podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
And it's brought to you with thatleisureshop.com and sponsored by Ripe. Now, what are you looking forward to?
This weekend is Campervan Campout. Very excited about it. It's at Ardingly, as the locals call it. It's one of Warner's outdoor shows. It's a fantastic event. As we record this, there are still tickets available, but go to mhmp.info/shows where you can find out more about all the shows Warner's are doing, specifically Campervan Campout. It's a brilliant weekend. It's more of a music festival than a motorhome show.
Yeah, but you bring your motorhome, don't you?
Yeah, you can camp at it. There's day passes available. So there were limited numbers of weekend camping passes available, and there's unlimited day passes, day visitor passes available. So go and check out the link and see if there's still tickets available. Sarah Cox is playing on Saturday night. That's going to be exciting, her Power Wire set. But the big thing I'm really excited about is the Advice Centre. So the Advice Centres have become a huge reason to go to a Warner show. Loads of free presentations across the weekend. Camp Out's a bit different. The Sunday is a creators theme, which if you're looking at launching a YouTube channel, an Instagram page, and looking at kind of living in your van and maybe living it on through a lens online, then it's going to be a great day to explore how to do it.
And let's face it, who isn't these days? if you're not on YouTube.
And all the more reason to go. But you've got to be different, haven't you? You've got to find a unique selling point. You've got to have a USP. So I'm really excited to be hosting the Advice Centre. I'm giving several talks myself. It's going to be great fun. It's going to be a really busy weekend, and let's hope it stays dry.
If you're heading to Europe in your motorhome this year, you'll want to make sure that you've got the right insurance cover, because not every policy automatically includes it.
Exactly, and you don't want to find out the hard way when you're already halfway through France, do you?
No, but the good news is that Ripe offers extended cover for travel to a range of European countries.
That's up to 90 days per trip, or 180 days across the year. So whether you're planning a long tour or multiple trips, you'll be covered.
And we know how important it is to make sure your cover is right. The good news is that Ripe has a lovely team based in Manchester who are just a phone call away if you need any help.
And we've had some great feedback from listeners who've saved money by switching to Ripe. So it's definitely worth seeing how they compare for you.
And here is the best bit. You can get 15% off your premium by using the code MotorhomeMatt. That's one word, MotorhomeMatt, over the phone, or just click the link in the description.
It's a no-brainer. More money for coffee and croissants.
Oh, fromage et vin, cheese and wine.
Now you're talking. So if you're heading off to Europe, check your insurance before you go. And don't forget to grab a 15% discount on your insurance premium with Ripe. Quote Motorhome Matt over the phone or click the link in the description.
It's the Motorhome Matt podcast with me, Keith Gooden.
And me, Motorhome Matt.
Brought to you with thatleisureshop.com and sponsored by Ripe. And the main part of this week's podcast, you've been, mamma mia, to Milano.
We did. Maddie and I flew out to Milan.
Motorhome Maddie.
Motorhome Maddie. Yeah. She's usually behind the camera, but on this trip she was with me on the plane. We had a lovely invite from the guys at Fiamma to come over and have a factory tour, and it's a big birthday year for Fiamma, and it was brilliant to meet up with Charles Pozzi, who is co-CEO of Fiamma, and find out a little bit more about what's going on for them. It's an honour to be here in Italy today. We are in Milan at the Fiamma headquarters, and I'm joined by Charles Pozzi, the co-managing director of Fiamma. Charles, welcome back onto the podcast.
Oh, it's my honor to be here again.
Thank you so much for the invitation to come and see your incredible setup.
Thank you.
It's quite amazing. So it's a big year this year for Fiamma. What's happening?
It is. We are celebrating 80 years, so this is a very big milestone for us, and we're very excited about it. The company was founded in 1945 by my grandfather, Arnaldo Pozzi. Unfortunately, he passed away quite some years after, and my grandmother, Norma Pozzi, took over the company, and she led it for many years until the 70s, in which my uncle and my father then came in and ran the business, and now it's my cousin and I who run it.
Yeah. Now, what I find interesting is that the company was actually founded during World War II.
Yes, there was still a few months left into the war, and they started, I guess they had foresight that it was time to rebuild.
Yeah, fantastic foresight, which is something, of course, that continues in the current day here at Fiamma. But I just want to wind back a little bit. You're famous for the F45 awning and a range of awning products, but that's not where Fiamma started.
Exactly. Fiamma in Italian means flame. And we started because we were doing gas cookers, aluminum gas cookers. So still to this day, aluminum is the material that we use the most in bike racks and awnings. And we did these gas cookers. Soon after that, we started doing heating systems. And at the time, caravans, which is what mostly was sold, came empty inside. And the end consumer had to put all the cooking, all the heating inside, and they started putting our products inside, and that's how we slowly got into the industry.
And it was 30 years really into your inception, or after your inception, that you started making awnings.
Yeah, so we started getting more, we made the real pivot into the industry and focusing only on the industry in I would say in the beginning of the 1970s. And we started developing a lot of products just specifically for this market. And soon after that, we developed the automatic box, which is the precursor to the F45. And the automatic box was the first winch awning invented. So we have the patent to that, and we invented that. And because before all the awnings used to be manual, you would have to manually take them out, and this one worked with a winch, and now everybody uses the winch.
Uses the handle, and you've now got a motorized one as well.
Yes, of course, yeah. In America, we sell mostly motorized.
Yeah, I'm sure. Now, it was 2013 when you joined Fiamma.
2012,
right, okay. To co-manage with your cousin.
Yes, exactly.
You have a very strict family rule, though. Tell me about that.
So typically in Italian family-run companies, the owner, I don't want to be dramatic, but stays until the last day that they're alive behind the desk of the company, and it's very hard for them to transition and to leave to the next generation. And my grandmother, similarly to every Italian family business owner, she kept on working until her 80s. And I think my uncle and my father felt that, and they wanted to do the opposite for their kids. So they have a very strict rule that they imposed, which is when one of their children comes into the company, they have to completely step out. So my uncle hasn't physically stepped foot or answered an email since 2008, and my father the same since 2012.
When you stepped in?
When I stepped in, he hasn't. Nobody's seen him. We showed them some pictures sometimes.
I presume you've seen him since.
Yeah, I see him.
So here we are in 2025. It's been a real insight to have a tour around the factories and how you produce the products here. And we're excited to look around Milan later on. Beautiful city. Yeah. But one of the things that's fascinated me is you said that over 80% of your manufacture is done here in Italy.
Yes.
I was surprised. I thought more would be coming from Asia.
So, of course, some components come from Asia. I would say maybe 40% of components for our products come from Asia, because nowadays you have to do it. But we have a rule where if there's a 20% difference between Italy and Asia, we bring that component back into production here. But yeah, I mean, our products are made in Italy. I mean, the awnings and the bike racks, and they're made by us. So the awnings and bike racks are made by Fiamma in our own production facilities. And many of our other products, for example, level systems, which are made out of plastic, which could be done abroad, are made in Italy. Water pumps are made also in Italy. We do our vents in Poland. And then we also started doing textiles in Europe right now. So in Romania, we do a lot of our textiles. And finished goods from Asia now is only 5% of our products. Right. So, we take great pride in keeping production in Europe. We think it's important.
Yeah, it really is a made in Italy product, isn't it?
It is, yes.
And your website, Fiamma.it, it's a global business, and it's in 7 languages. Yes. You're just taking over the world. What do you predict for the next 80 years for Fiamma and for the wider leisure industry?
Well, I'm very positive about the industry. I think the industry will continue growing. I think that the automotive industry and the RV industry will get always a little bit closer together. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of end consumers want to be in touch with nature. They want the freedom that an RV provides, especially with vans. You can buy a van and you can use it both for yourself. You could use also maybe a little bit commercially to pick up the kids, and then you can use it to go on holiday on the weekend. And I think that there is only going to be growth in our industry.
So how do you think we are going to attract new people to this pastime?
So, I think that new generations shy away from having, for example, a second home. Second home comes with a lot of obligations, and it also makes it so that you have to go there. So you don't have so much freedom to explore and to adventure. And I also think that the industry has become very aesthetic. It's a very beautiful industry in the sense that the new vans are incredibly beautiful. If you look at the new California, there's a lot of new vans that I see also when I go to the Birmingham show. By new small operators that do maybe 20, 40 pieces a year, but the inside is beautiful. And I think there's going to be a tendency to go towards an aesthetic. We went a few years ago to an aesthetic that was almost like boats, like yacht aesthetic, but I think we're going to go for a home aesthetic soon. It's going to, like the kitchen is going to look like a kitchen in a house. It's going to look like a second home, but on wheels that gives you freedom. So I think that's going to really attract a lot of people.
Now, over lunch, we were making comparisons of our industry to others, and you were particularly talking about Tesla and the options list. Tell us more.
Well, I don't know if manufacturers are going to agree with me, but I think that our industry could maybe look at how the pace in which new vehicles are coming out. Like, every year there's a new model, and every model has X amount of floor plans, and you can also kind of pick and choose the color of the bedding, the color of the curtains, the color of this and that. So there's so much, I think, personalization that you can do, and this comes at a cost of economies of scale. And I think that there's space for somebody to say, okay, let's come out every 4 or 5 years with a new model. Let's have 2 floor plans. And just like when you go on a Tesla website, a Tesla has 2 engines, 2 interior colors, 3 exterior colors. There's like 7 things that you can pick, right? Which is the opposite of if you go to maybe BMW, where you can have 20 engines and 20 different configurations. And I think that it would be interesting to see somebody come out with this kind of like business model in vans and try to cut costs and make it more affordable.
And do you think that kind of innovation would help fix some of the current challenges that we face as an industry with oversupply of stock? Absolutely. And actually make it simpler and easier to access for the consumer then?
Absolutely. The reality is that we're so reliant on shows, for example, nowadays, because if you're an end consumer and you want to see a variety of vehicles, there's no dealership that has all of them. You would have to go to many different dealerships, and oftentimes they don't even have the show model there. So we have to go to a show to see all the vehicles, right? And that's already one problem. Yeah. And the other problem, as you said, when there's some uncertainty in the market and you cannot offload all your stock, then you have the old model and you have to start discounting it, and it's a burden on the dealership, I think. And vehicles have become expensive. The world has become expensive. Everything is expensive nowadays. But we have also become more expensive. So whereas the entry level would have been 40,000, now maybe it's 55,000. And I think that if we could streamline some economies of scale, maybe we could go down by enough that would make it interesting for people to say, I can afford it.
It's a very interesting insight, I agree. And whether the industry will take note of you, Charles, I don't know, but I will. So tell me then, for the next 80 years, just what's happening here at Fiamma in the short term over the next few years? What new and exciting things have you got happening?
Well, we always look at the future. We always want to expand. We just bought a new warehouse close by to us. It's 300 meters away. We're going to knock it down and build a new one, and we're going to expand by 15,000 square meters, which is 150,000 square feet. We would like to do some rebranding. I think it's time for us to rebrand a little bit. So we're going to have a nice surprise at Düsseldorf, I think, this year, and I think it's exciting. And, we want to continue the legacy of innovation.
Yeah. I was privileged to have a sneak peek on your phone at some of the ideas for the new Fiamma brand, and it's stunning. It's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very good.
I'm looking forward to it.
And of course, we've seen some of the new products that are coming out, some of the tweaks you've made to long-established products, vastly improving them and modernising them, bringing them up to date.
Thank you. Yeah, that's important. I think, design now comes hand in hand with quality and functionality, whereas our industry maybe before was more functional than aesthetic. And now I think across the board, every industry is like that. And we have to do the same, and there's new trends. Everybody wants black now. So we have to do a lot of black colored products. And so we're just moving in that direction.
Black is definitely the new silver here at Fiamma.
Absolutely. Silver is like that. It's white and black now. Silver is like on its way out. Yeah.
So your website is in 7 languages. You've got territories around the globe. Mm-hmm. Is it possible to grow more? Do you think Fiamma will grow some more?
I hope so. I mean, I think the industry will grow, and that will allow us in terms to grow. Mm-hmm. It was a niche industry. It's still a little bit niche now, but if I look 20 years ahead, 30 years ahead, I think it's going to be much, much bigger.
Yeah. Well, Charles, co-managing director of Fiamma. You're always very keen to point out.
Because I co-manage it with my cousin, John David, and, it's rare to have co-CEOs. Some brands do have it. For example, On Running, the shoe brand, they also have co-CEOs. And I think there's advantages to having co-CEOs. And, you complement each other, you help each other. And I wouldn't be able to do it without him. So, I think it's important to...
And what's also interesting, you're based here in Milan. Where's your cousin based?
So he's based between Asia and Milan. So he splits his time. He's growing the Asian market. We believe that there will be growth there. And, we like to be the first ones in every new market, in every new territory. As soon as they sell a vehicle, we want to be there.
Yeah. Well, you certainly are. You seem to be everywhere, and you're a household name. And I wish you every success for the next 80 years, even if not under your control.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming.
That's Charles Pozzi. He's the co-managing director at Fiamma. So he thinks the motorhome industry is plateauing. What does that mean?
It was brilliant to get his insight. We had the pleasure of lunch with him and dinner. Thank you, Charles. It was great to spend some time with you, and so very generous of you to give us the time you did.
You're very generous for Matt and Maddie.
Yeah, you didn't get an invite, Keith.
Yeah. Funny that, isn't it? I had chips that night.
Did you? We had pommes frites.
That's French.
Yeah, it was French. You're right. Actually, we had roast potatoes. The food was amazing. Just sticking with the food, and the wine. Just
carry on telling me all about the food.
Yeah, it was really good.
Fantastic.
But it was interesting to get Charles's insight into our industry, because Charles works obviously at a very high level of the business and is exposed to all marketplaces, so across the world. So they have offices in the US and they're global. And he predicts that we're on a kind of a plateau, which I was encouraged by because it means we're not into a lull, we're not into a dip. And I think the market has slowed down. And I think that's what Charles is seeing, just the market going at a slower pace, ahead of an uplift, which I'm sure is coming. He believes in these cycles. He's seen them a lot, as we all have over time, and that's what he's basing his business development on.
So basically, what you're saying is he's saying that we're in a new normal at the moment, and things may change in the future.
I agree. Yeah, I think we are exactly where he predicts we are, which is a slowdown, not a dip. It is a new normal. You're right, and it's just a slowdown before and ahead of another uplift. Which I'm the eternal optimist. Me, I'm just grateful for a glass, never much how much is in it.
It's the Motorhome Matt podcast with me, Keith Gooden.
And me, Motorhome Matt.
Brought to you with thatleisureshop.com and sponsored by Ripe. It's time for our Q&A, our questions and answers, where you ask the questions and Matt, he's the expert, for it is he, king of the freebie, will give you the answer. And if he doesn't know, he'll ask somebody that does.
You're not going to let this go, are you?
First of all, it's Jonathan Collis, who is in Devizes.
Hey Matt, my name's John from Devizes in Wiltshire. I've got a question with reference to our Adria Sonic. It's a 2014 700 SL Plus. We've got an issue with fuse 51 in the dashboard fuse box blowing. I don't know if you've ever had any experience of this, and I know that you're sort of quite well up there with the old Adria knowledge, so I was hoping you might be able to help me, or at least give me some ideas where to start looking. Really enjoyed the show. I'm very grateful for any advice that you may be able to give me. Thank you. Bye.
So Jonathan is in the Wiltshire, in Devizes, market town there. Very nice place, by the way.
Nice part of the world.
Is blown fuse, what do you reckon?
Yeah, so fuse 51 is normally responsible for reversing cameras, power steering, electric power steering, which your motorhome at that age won't have. It's too old, I think, and it's responsible for aircon as well. I reckon, Jonathan, it's probably, and I have had experience of this, you're quite right, it's not so much an Adria issue as a Fiat issue. It could be the reversing lights are earthing out, or it could be that the reversing camera is causing the short. It's most likely to be an accessory causing it rather than a Fiat issue. I would suggest disconnecting the reversing camera from its live feed, which is probably from the reversing lights somewhere. It could be from the switch on the gearbox, though I doubt it. It depends if your camera's on all the time. If it's on all the time, it's got a permanent live. If it's switching or coming on when you put it into reverse, it's getting power from the reverse light. So I would start by getting an auto electrician to disconnect that and see what's happening, and just drive for a while with no reversing camera and see what happens. Otherwise, it's probably more likely a Fiat issue. But in my experience, and I've had it a couple of times, it's usually a camera causing the problem.
Chris Bassett's in Bristol. Hi, Matt and Chris.
There it is.
Also known as Kevin.
This joke won't go away.
Chris says he is Chris, by the way. He said he loved the podcast. They're always informative and entertaining. My question is, what do you consider to be the best sat-nav, either with or without a dash cam integrated within it? Also, where's the best place to mount one without being too much of an obstruction when driving? He says, keep up the good work and say hello to Chris.
He won't let it go either.
He won't, will he? So what leaps out at me here is his question about the obstruction when driving, that there are very strict rules about what you can place around the driver, aren't there? You
can fail an MOT if it's blocking your view. I've had that where I've had a phone stuck to the windscreen, you know, the sucker?
Yes.
And the MOT tester took it off the windscreen. So, well, I'd fail it if it was left there. So it arrived back to me on the passenger seat, which I then, of course, promptly reattached to the windscreen, although in a slightly different place. I would suggest any sat-nav that's updating regularly is going to be to your benefit, because roads change all the time. I've been using for years the Avtex Garmin Tora 2. The Tora 3 now replaces it. The great thing with that, it's not very big, so you can mount it in the corner of a windscreen. You can get dashboard mount, so you can put the sucker onto the dashboard. But the great thing is you can update it, and it's got thousands of campsites in it. So it's aimed specifically at our marketplace. The Tora 3 I've been playing with, and it is superb. As I say, it's easy to update. The other sat-nav we do use a lot is I use something called Waze, W-A-Z-E. It does kill the phone battery. It works on my mobile phone, and it has taken us down some random roads with grass up the middle, which can be a challenge in a motorhome.
Dodgy, that grass up the middle.
Yeah, but it's updating all the time. At the moment, you can't put your motorhome dimensions into Waze, but you can in the Tora 3 and the Tourer 2. So given that the Tourer 3 is brand new, you might find the Tourer 2 second-hand on Marketplace somewhere online and save a few bob. But I think they're 350 quid, and we sell them at thatleisureshop.com.
Do you ever see the Motorhome movie, Tourer?
No.
Graham's in Retford. Hi, Matt. I have a 2021 Auto Sleepers Burford on the Mercedes chassis. Maximum weight 4.1 tonne. It's due its first MOT, and I just wondered what class of test is required. Some say class 4, others say class 7, as it's over 3.5 tonnes. Many thanks in advance, and don't listen to those people in the pub. Listen to Matt.
This weight thing comes up all the time, doesn't it? It's always about gross weight and payload. So it's a motorhome and it's class 4. So your motorhome could be 15 tonnes, but because it's a motorhome, it's class 4. Okay, so it has to be a reasonable motorhome. So a tester's going to look at it. If it's a Ford Transit with a mattress thrown in the back, it's not going to cut it. But because it's a motorhome and it's built as a motorhome, they will consider it to be a class 4. However, if it's a horse box with sleeping and living in it, and it's over 3.5 tonne, it's actually a VOSA test. So it has to go onto a proper test lane, a VOSA test lane. So it's not a class 7 because it's a motorhome.
VOSA is what?
Vehicle Operations Standards Authority, I think. So it's the government people. You see their little cars, bright yellow, driving up and down the motorways. They look after the roads, and they are responsible for testing of vehicles and keeping them safe on the road.
See, I threw him a curveball. They're a curveball.
He caught me out.
He got it. He got it. First time. Okay, if people want to get in touch, then Matt, what should they do?
We'd love it if you did. You can head to mhmp.info/Ask Matt. You can record your question by clicking the little orange button. Please tell us where in the world you are, or you can write it up and we'll read it for you.
And if you're looking for trusted brands and services, then make sure you visit the Motorhome Matt approved directory at mhmp.info/approved.